Thanks, guys. All right, so we are going to get into it. So my name is Hawk Steele, or Hawk Steele. I'm the channel partner manager here at Starshipit, and I am joined by my good friend, our head of customer success and resident returns portal expert, Jeff. Say hello, Jeff.
G'day, everyone.
Perfect. So Jeff is my right-hand man, and he's going to be on hand to help it with any questions that come up. Hopefully I'm going to answer most of your questions as we go, but we're going to try and leave some time for some questions at the end. Please be sure to use the Q&A feature of Zoom instead of the chat. Just helps us really keep an eye on any questions and sort of manage them as we go. So there's the Q&A feature and the chat feature. Make sure you use that Q&A feature. So let's get into it. There's a few more people trickling in, but they can catch up later. Right. So what are we going to talk about today? So we're going to go through very quickly what the agenda is. We're going to start off with the why. Okay, this year a lot of people are starting to focus on returns. So why is that? We're going to talk about that briefly. We're going to talk, of course, about what is the Starshipit branded returns. And then we're going to get into the quick tour, which is a bit like a magic trick. Always wanted to be a magician. So we're going to take you through the quick tour. This is going to be in two parts. So I'm going to essentially show you what it's going to look like from a shopper's point of view. And then I'm going to show you what it's going to be like from your user's point of view. So your operator's day-to-day use of that. And then we're going to, like I said, we're going to have some time for some questions at the end. So make sure you put them in that chat and in the Q&A as you go, so you don't forget what the questions are. And you will be getting a recording after this, but make sure you do try and stay to the end, and we'll go. So let's jump through it. All right. So this year, of course, retailers are spending a lot of time focusing on different strategies to, of course, reduce their returns. It's a huge area, and there's lots of different strategies that you can implement, and it's absolutely the right thing to do. So to help reduce returns and the chance of an item needing to be returned or exchanged, a lot of retailers are focusing on their website, of course, making it as detailed, rich as possible around measurements, the materials that are being used in your products. And of course, there's lots of fancy AR tools out there as well to really try and reduce those and make sure you can get, your shopper can get a real picture of what it is they're purchasing. So there's absolutely no surprises at the end. So there's some really good tools out there, and it's by far, the best thing to do is focus on reducing those. And actually, if your product is one of those ones that does lend itself to a last minute purchase, then of course, speeding up your shipping is also going to help not miss that deadline, and thus, reducing the number of returns that you might get. So that's another area that you can focus on to reduce that. But of course, as much as we all hate to say it, returns is now a fact of life, and they're not going away anytime soon. So it's really important to take a step back and really consider the experience when the inevitable happens. A customer does want to make a return. So that experience of the return is as crucial, and it's unavoidable. In fact, 17% of all online orders are now returned. And even some studies have bounced that up to 30%, which is really huge. So as I said, it's not going away. You can't really bury your head in the sand anymore and hope it won't happen to you, because it is. And really, it's been said before, very recently, that I've heard it, returns now really is the new battleground of customer experience. So with that said, we all know how important, loyal customers are these days, right? So bad returns experience can seriously impact one of the most critical metrics for your store, the repeat purchase rate. This is why so many retailers are focusing on making returns as smooth and as seamless as possible for their customers. We've focused a long time on the actual shopping and making that completely frictionless. So now it's time to really bring in the return solution into that seamless area. In fact, 84% of online shoppers would turn their back on a retailer just after one bad returns experience. 84%, which is huge, isn't it? I mean, it's a number that you can't ignore at all. Okay, so why is this important to you? So let's just talk about the three big benefits to improving your returns process. Number one, firstly, it's all about that customer satisfaction. All right. So as I said before, the new battleground of customer experience, returns are a big part of that customer experience. And you've got to have a really easy, hassle-free process in the back end, as well as giving your customers that hassle-free process, which can help build trust, build loyalty, which of course leads to repeat business. And we all know how crucial that's going to be this year. But it's not just about happy customers, of course, it's all about boosting sales and revenue. So a flexible returns policy, right? This can give you a massive competitive edge over someone that is a bit more rigid around it because of their process. And shoppers are far more likely to choose a retailer that does have a good policy that suits them compared to one that doesn't. In fact, one Power Retail study recently released found that 96% of people take a retailer's return policy and their process into account before making the purchase. So let's be real, who wants to deal with a frustrating returns process, right? All these emails bouncing back and forth, approvals, instructions, it's painful for all the parties, you know, your customers, but also yourselves. You want to avoid that at all costs. And last but not least, of course, managing returns can be super expensive, all right? You know, it's essential to have a clear understanding of the costs associated with that process that they'll go through and that you have to manage in the back end, and solutions in place to manage them. And that's why these tools to help you automate as much of that process and streamline the returns process play such a big part now. So by freeing up your time and your energy, you can now focus on running your business and providing excellent customer experience right from the start to the finish. So let's get into it. This brings me to one of our latest features, the branded returns. So here at Starshipit, we do pride ourselves on being a customer-led business. So one of our company values is customer as a compass. So when you ask for a portal that could make returns process easier and more streamlined, we absolutely listen. So the branded returns portal was one of the most requested features. And I'd just like to go through the 5 main things that were asked for, which will give you a good idea of what has been delivered here. So the first one is the ability for the returns portal to sit seamlessly on your website, making it really easy for customers to navigate and use. So that's a check. Number 2, customers to be able to self-serve. So again, as little interference as possible. So what I mean by self-serve, of course, generating their own returns labels, choosing their preferred reimbursement method, and even booking a pickup or drop-off option, all in one place. Number 3, being fully customizable to reflect your returns policy. So there's no surprises for your customers down the line. So what I mean by that is there's a whole lot of logic that you might have in your returns policy that you want to be able to reflect in this process. So what I mean, so for an example, as you can see, so particular SKUs of yours, you may not want to accept returns, or you may not be able to accept these returns. So you want that to be automatically rejected, for example, earrings, or if a certain order is perhaps over 30 days old, for example, that will obviously be rejected as well at that point, if that's what your policy does reflect. So it's highly customizable to return to sort of reflect that policy. Number 4, keeping the customers in the loop about the return through dynamic email and SMS notifications that can be customized to match your brand. Okay, and this also comes back to that transparency aspect. People want to know what's happening with their returns, as well as, of course, in the original order, but the center return back, they want to know what the process is and how long it's going to take and the different milestones that are involved. So you can do that in a really engaging way through really rich, engaging emails and notifications within the portal itself. And most importantly, you wanted it to take the stress out of managing returns for your team. So with all the returns managed in one helpful dashboard, you and your team obviously can have a bird's eye view of everything that's going on and you'll be able to spend more time focusing on growing your business rather than down in the weeds, dealing with individual returns and different things that that are coming in, and going back and forth with your customers on that. So it really does free up a whole lot of time and energy to be able to focus on what's happening in your business. Right, so I promised you a magic trick. We are going to dive into a very quick tour of the returns portal. So hopefully you're seeing now. Please tell me if you're not. Please use the chat feature to tell me if you're not seeing Starshipit. In fact, I'm now showing you the window of our returns portal, which is branded as Federal Street. So what you're looking at here, as you can tell, it's a highly customizable page. So this page here is hosted by Starshipit, but you'll be able to design it to reflect all your brand's assets, your color scheme, your theme, all the messaging is all reflected in the same way it would be throughout that shopping experience. So right from the cart through to returns, it's a unified experience. Not only is it a unified, consistent experience, but it's another place where you get to sort of engage with them. You might want to tell them about other products in your, in your catalog, or perhaps any sales that might be coming up, or even get them to engage with your social channels at this point. So just another area for you to engage with them. So this is all customizable, but of course, well, not of course, but the Federal Street URL up here, this is customizable for you to a degree as well. So you can have that as your own. But alternatively, so you would just link to this from the returns section of your website. But alternatively, you can easily embed this directly into your website. So we've given you the HTML code. It's just a matter of copying and pasting it into your website so you can have it as an iframe, and it will be a seamless experience that sits just inside your website. So from here, the customer just needs to enter the order number from the original order and the email address from the original order that they purchased, and that will give them access to the returns portal where they'll be presented with the orders that they originally purchased. So in this case, it's a tennis racket and tennis shoes. I might select a tennis racket, and from here, there's a drop-down box and they can select the reason for return. So you can have up to 10 different reasons that you offer your customers. I'm just going to select a damaged tennis racket. They're going to send it back, and the number that, so they might have ordered 10 tennis rackets if they're really bad tennis players, but you can select how many you want to send back. So in this case, it's one tennis racket for, because it's damaged. Down here is the weight and the dimensions that are pre-populated with according to the outbound order. So there's actually, in most cases, there'd be no reason for your customer to manipulate that. And then they would go through, continue through to this section. This is where they could, if they wanted to. So by default, it will bring in the original recipient address. So by default, that will be the new sender address, but they can edit this. So reasons for that, they might perhaps be sending it back from work instead of from their home address. So that's just really easily edited here. And then they'll be asked for a return method. Now, again, this is highly customizable. So you can have, in a lot of cases, people will just drop this off directly at the post office, or you might allow them to have it picked up. So if you wanted to having it picked up, you might have, for example, Couriers Please or TNT. They might have a pickup service where your customer will be able to select from the date picker and the and a time, either morning or afternoon when they want that collected. In this case, I'm going to just go with Australia Post. I'm going to drop that off. The link here, that will take you through to the Australia Post site where you can find the nearest drop-off location. But then we get down to the reimbursement method. So this is where they will be able to select either a store credit, an exchange, or a refund, whichever they like, and you'll be able to communicate to them the different processing fees according to which reimbursement method they have selected. Now, this is a dynamic price, which will change according to the logic in the back end of Starshipit that you configure. So for example, you might want to charge more for a particularly heavy order, because it's going to cost you more. You might want to charge, have a higher processing fee for one that's coming from a long way away. Again, just to claw back some of those costs, because it is an expensive game. So you do have a chance here to communicate the processing fee in a dynamic way, automated way for them. So let's say just going for an exchange, we're going to call that free because it is just an exchange in that case. And then they're going to go through and generate the shipping labels. So this is where that would be generated. You get another opportunity at this point to take them through the process, perhaps tell them about how you'd expect it to be packaged when you send it back, perhaps communicate the different timeframes that they should expect to see this processed, and what to do next, really, and the different processes in place. And at that point, they're just going to download the shipping label from here. You might be familiar with the Australia Post shipping label. So this is an e-parcel one, which we support. There was a question that came in that I said, that I see there, does the return portal integrate with MyPost? It doesn't currently. It's currently supporting e-parcel. So MyPost may come in the future. So that's a very high level view of your customer's experience, the process that they would go through to generate a return at that point. The other thing actually I forgot to mention is this is where we can start getting involved with your customers, as I mentioned before, through those branded notifications. As you can see here, you would communicate when certain actions have happened. Perhaps you've left it at the door for a pickup and it's been picked up. You want to know, so we can actually communicate that via an email. Your customers at work, yes, it's been picked up. Gives them peace of mind knowing that's now on a truck or a van. So that's the customer's journey. Now what I want to talk about very quickly is your operations team, your users in the warehouse or customer service team, how they would operate on a day-to-day basis. So the first thing I would say is you can configure it to just send you an email when a return has been generated, so you know to look out for it. But in most cases, people will come into their Starshipit account here and they will go to the return section and be able to manage it on a day-to-day basis. But it is possible for you to be notified. So for those who aren't familiar with Starshipit, on the left-hand side is our main menu, okay, which I'm going to minimize here. And along the top of our tabs. So the new, printed, shipped, and now we have a brand new tab strictly for returns. And this is where you would essentially manage them on a day-to-day basis. And it gives you a bird's eye view of everything that's happened, all of the returns orders that have happened in the past. And you can cast your eyes down and see what's been returned. So going through the columns here, so reimbursement method that was selected, so exchange, refund, whatever it might be. And then the transit status. So there's no live data in here, but transit status, obviously, has it been picked up? Is it on its way back? And you can actually see exactly where that is. But the other really cool thing is the tags that can be assigned. So these can be either automatically assigned to returns orders, or you can manually add or remove different tags. And this really helps you keep them organized, keeps you on top of what has happened with an order, what hasn't. Has it been refunded? Has it been approved? Does it need destroying? And all that sort of thing. So what I'm going to do here, though, is go and click into an order by clicking on the order number. And this brings up the dialog box, which will show me the details of the order. So as I can see here, this tennis racket is coming back, but the reason being it's damaged. And the customer here has selected an exchange product. The processing fee that we've communicated is $0, and they have a return method of drop-off requested via Australia Post. And this is the tracking number that is associated with that order coming back. Now, as normal with Starshipit, that tracking number just is hyperlinked back to the Australia Post tracking portal if you do want to check where it is. And down here is the complete history of when certain events took place and any tags that have been applied to it at that point. So it gives you a more detailed view of what's happening with that particular order. So if I go back here, the other possibility here, you can actually just send a label directly to the customer So if I selected an order here and I wanted to send them a label, this would simply come up with the email address, and you can make sure it gets emailed directly to the customer. So you can do that within the user interface. The other thing you can do as well, from any shipped orders that have been delivered, you can, from within the order, you can actually select the order and send a link directly to the customer, which will actually bypass the login aspect of the returns portal. So this is the shipped order here, and I can just send them a return link for them to self-service essentially. So that's just if someone reached out to you and didn't go through that portal to begin with. And using the filters, so as I said before, sorry, go back into the returns tab. So using the filters, you can, of course, keep organized. So for example, I want to just filter on everything that is return incoming, or you might just want to filter on everything that's been approved or everything that needs to be destroyed. So you can keep everything in a really organized way. So that's a whirlwind tour of how an operator would use Starshipit on a day-to-day basis. Let me just quickly dive back in here. And hopefully you are seeing my deck again. My deck again. Right. So what happens now? Of course, everybody's process policy is very different. I've given you a very generic sort of overview of how this would operate and how this would work in your business. But for a more bespoke conversation or demo, we would highly recommend that you scan this QR code, and that will take you to a booking screen where you can book a one-to-one session with one of our experts, and they'll take you through, they'll go through your business and how the return solution would work for you. Alternatively, you can just give it a try. So within the Starshipit settings, you'll see a return section on the left-hand side, and you can go in there, just enable a 10-day trial, and you can use it for 10 days free of charge. And at the end of the 10 days, you'll be asked, and if it's for you, great. It's $100 per month to enable that as an add-on to your Starshipit subscription. Okay, I think that is enough of me speaking for now. I would think we're going to have Jeff come back in at this point. Jeff, come in, Jeff. Are you there?
Speaking.
Perfect.
Turning my video on. Sorry, there we go. Hi, how are we?
There we are. There's that friendly face. Okay, do we have any questions? I did see one come in, which I think I answered on the fly, about My Post Business, about that. Currently, Australia Post, as I mentioned before, eParcel is supported, along with a few other carriers, but not My Post Business currently.
Yeah, absolutely right there. Yeah, unfortunately not. And we definitely have a few more questions. Do you want me to start rattling?
Yeah, okay, for it.
Perfect. All right. Hi, team. When will we have the option to create a return for toll? Hopefully soon. What I thought I'd do here is I'd actually touch base with you directly after this to talk through our process and look to get that, I suppose, underway. And I'll reach out to the question asker there directly straight after this as well.
Yeah, perfect. Okay. And another one here, do you integrate with OMS to fetch order details? So I presume that's a return order details. So we don't have anything currently pre-built as far as OMS goes. We do have an open API which will allow that functionality to be built, and then I believe there is one OMS that is in that process. I better not put their name out there just yet, a little bit early, but it's all available in the API for that to be done. So I'm interested to hear from you as to which OMS that you would like to see that actioned in.
We also pull the data from Starshipit itself, Hawk. So the actual order details are coming from Starshipit. So if those order details are in Starshipit for the outbound order, then we'll be able to see the line items and the quantities ordered come up for the return there as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Perfect. Okay. Okay, great. Any others?
Yep. Does this integrate with DHL eCommerce? Unfortunately, not right now, but like I say, I will reach out to the question asker on that one, just to talk through that for the next steps from our side. There's also some more as well.
So is it worth us just rattling off, highlighting which couriers currently is supported in Starshipit? So just to reiterate this, we will be adding more in the future as time goes on, as we do in Starshipit, but for outbound. But currently, for the returns, we do support DHL Express, Australia Post, New Zealand Post, Couriers Please, P&T, and soon to be Aramax. That's in the pipeline. Did I miss any?
I think that covers it. No.
It covers it. Great.
Yep. Cool. Okay, so some more questions coming through. Do returns labels count against my regular allocation of shipping labels? Yes. So they're just added in the same way as your outbound labels are against your monthly allocation.
Yeah, perfect. Okay. I think there was a question about New Zealand Post up there as well. As I said, yes, we certainly do support returns for New Zealand Post. So any others?
Currently, it is our customer's expense to return a parcel. To make the customer pay for the return postage, is it just a case of deducting some money from their refund? Yes, absolutely. So the way we visualize that is we call that a processing fee, and then you would choose to either deduct that from the amount you refund or the amount you allocate to a store credit for the customer.
Perfect. Cool.
Is there a way to get photos for approval before the customer returns the product?
Good question.
Very good question.
So not currently. Yeah, the short answer there is no. There's not currently to approve the return. So perhaps the way to do that, if they did send a photo into you, then you would send them direct, and you approved it. You would send a link directly to the portal for them to be able to self-serve at that point. Hopefully that answered that one.
Yep.
Okay. Will the returns waybill reference the original outbound details, such as original export date waybill, etc., to support RGR? Oh, we might have to. Not too sure what you mean on that one.
Yeah, we may have to come back to you on that one. It definitely references the original details, but there may be more around like order number and reason for return, especially if it's an international one. It would say reason for export would be return order. But yeah, around RGR, I think we may have to look to come back to you on that one.
Cool. A few more coming in.
Yep. From an integration perspective, would this new returns functionality into Starshipit auto update create credit notes in 7.7 with all the tracking details? Unfortunately, not right now. It's not looking to write back to the likes of Sin 7. So we would suggest here having a manual process like Hawk was mentioning there around having a tag allocated to each return with different potential stages of where the return might be at. So it might be, say, awaiting arrival of the return and then processing and then finalized or something like that once we've done the updates to the systems that need to be done.
Yep, exactly. All right. And one other one, is there an option to not offer a label for certain items, i.e. sale items? Yes, there is. Yep. So you can configure a rule in the back end. So to reject returns. The other cool thing about that is it allows you to really control that messaging as well. So you get to sort of, it's not just a no, you can't get in. You get to completely control the wording, why it might be rejected in that instance.
Yeah, And the world's your oyster on that, Hawk, as well. So just not only can you kind of have a broad spectrum of sale items, but you can do it on the number of days since the order's been made. I know a lot of companies that I shop from have a 30-day returns policy or a 60-day returns policy. The other one could be around specific items based on the item SKU, potentially for, say, hygiene reasons or something along those lines.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Any other questions out there? I think we've got through most of them. Can you see any others there, Jeff?
No, I'm just having a quick look through. How do I know if the order is on its way back to the warehouse? Couple of ways there, I would suggest. First of all, it would pop up in your returns tab. So if your team are in the Starshipit dashboard, they'd be able to see a new order coming through there, and it would sit at the top. Or you can actually have choose to have an email address that comes into a nominated email address for your business. So saying like a return is on its way, and to keep an eye out for it. And that email can go both to yourself as what we call a BCC, or as well out to the customer. So you can keep your customers informed every step of the way as well. So I know when I'm creating a return, my most nerve-wracking time is between when it leaves me and is going back to the retailer, just because I want to make sure it gets there and I get my money back, essentially.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a really important part. So yeah, 100%. Sure is yes.
Yep. And then, can we generate return labels for both domestic and international customers? Absolutely. That's a simple answer there. It can all be configured within the rule settings as well, and you can even choose to have potentially a different courier allocated for your international returns versus your domestic ones.
Perfect. Good. Well, look, I think that's all the questions, unless there's any others that come through. But
we'll be emailing out the recording for the demo today. Absolutely.
We sure will. Yep. But let me just bounce back here as well. So please do scan that QR code if you're looking for a more bespoke demo or more just a conversation around your policy. Be sure to book that in, and we can have a good chat about that and seeing how it's going to work for your business in particular. But yes, the answer is we certainly will be. Okay, well, look, I think that's us for today. So again, really appreciate everyone coming along. I know how busy you are manually processing those returns. So hopefully this has been really helpful. And yeah, we're really excited, really proud of where it's come out. And yeah, hope you are too. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.